Good evening from Washington. I'm Larry O'Connor. As I'm sure you're expecting, we're going to have wall-to-wall coverage on the fallout of the Durham Report. What have we learned and how can we fix the mess that we're in right now? Later, we've got former U.S. Attorney Joe DeGeneva on this. We've got investigative journalist John Solomon. Plus, we've got Congressman Greg Steube, who sits on that all-important weaponization of the federal government committee in the House. But joining us right now is really one of the first political casualties of the Crossfire Hurricane debacle. Former National Security Advisor to President Trump, retired General Michael Flynn. General Flynn, thank you for joining us on this issue.
Now, Larry, thanks for having me, and I appreciate what you do on a daily basis. I listen to you damn near every day, Larry.
Well, that means a lot to me. Thank you, General. Listen, I'd love for you to just take a moment to sort of express your opinion, your thoughts, seeing this report come out yesterday, and so much of what you've been talking about, what you had to experience at the hands of Comey and Strzok and McCabe and this whole cabal in the Obama administration that came after you. You have to feel some level of vindication here.
Yeah, Larry, for those that take the time to read it, and I recommend, every American read this thing. This is an unbelievable, crime scene. But everything that is in this report and everything that I've been saying from the beginning, basically, it's not just vindication of how I feel, but it's everything that I've said. It basically proves it out in the report itself. I mean, there's some incredibly damning things stated in this report. But in my statement this night, I say that this report has to be a rally cry for all of us in America that love our freedom. And I don't care what party you're a part of. I don't care what your persuasion is. And if we don't fight back against this deep corruption that we have in our system of justice, then we're going to lose our country, Larry. And you talk about this a lot, on the different issues and stuff that you talk about. But this is where we are. I want people to understand that this is not, this is not a game that we're playing, and this is not politics as usual, Larry. This is not one election to the next, and somebody else is going to want, small government versus big government. This is a takeover of our country, and take it for what it's worth. This report should one, scare the hell out of everybody, but number two, it better wake up this country to what is happening and what's happening right there. In the city of Washington D.C., which is I just spent the last 48 hours in Washington D.C. and I couldn't wait to leave.
General Flynn, you said in your statement that you're alluding to here, if we do not fight back now, the America we love may be lost forever. And of course, Mr. Durham is a U.S. attorney. He had prosecutorial power. He mentioned in his report things like seditious conspiracy. When you had Barack Obama, John Brennan, and Joe Biden all knowing that this hoax was manufactured by the Clinton campaign, they sat back and let it happen. So, General Flynn, when you say we have to fight back now, what do you think should happen, considering the fact that Mr. Durham chose not to prosecute?
Yeah, well, I don't think we can rely on Washington, D.C. anymore, nor any of the politicians. I know you got Greg Steube, who I'm a big fan, and you've got coming on, and I'm a big fan of his, and I like Greg. But there are very few things that people in Washington, D.C. can do. What I really want to see is I want to see our Republican governors stand up. I mean, if Republican governors, quit allowing their ego to get in their way and worrying about whether or not they have a shot at running for president of the United States and actually, get themselves together, the Republican Governors Association of America these people need to get together and they need to sit down and say, how can we stop this federal overreach and this ungodly act of criminal behavior by people in our justice system? Our country, Larry, was built on a constitution that gave governors a lot of authority and a lot of executive power. And if they combine together and they work together, that we can actually save this country. I keep saying local action has a national impact, and I mean that. People need to get involved in their communities at the county level, but
even school board. I mean, we've seen how important school boards are, General.
School board, and I've been a big champion of that for the last couple of years, and we've done a lot. We've been able to take over 200 school boards across the country. But I think now, if we want to save the country, I actually think that it's in the hands of governors, and if the governors, and I can go through the litany of governors, but all of them are allowing their ego to get in the way of saving this country right now, because we are on a thin and a short line hanging on, and that's where we're at. And if people don't realize that, we're going to lose this country.
General Flynn, we've only got a couple of minutes left, and there's one aspect of this that I don't think is getting touched on enough. You're obviously a retired lieutenant general. You were an intelligence officer, and many of the tools that were used against you and against President Trump under the guise of counterintelligence, under the guise of national security, they were put into place after the terrorist attacks of 9/11. These are laws that you're very familiar with, and they were used against you as a political weapon. How should we re-examine these laws now going forward?
Well, the Patriot Act is one, and there's another executive order that was signed under George Bush. All of these things have to be pulled back in, brought back under control, maybe eliminated.
Wow.
And clearly, I'm serious, Larry. And clearly, the FBI. I put out in a social media post today, but I think it needs to be shut down. Doesn't mean that I don't think we need a federal law enforcement organization, but that this current FBI needs to be shut down. There's nothing about it that people trust anymore. It needs to be shut down, and we need to sit down. Congress, with the American people need to consider new ways to create a new federal law enforcement organization, which is not, the FBI is not in the Constitution. So, anybody that says, "Oh no, that's blasphemy."
Oh no, we've had a country without an FBI longer than we've had a country with an FBI. Actually, people don't know that. General, one other thing, you mentioned governors. Well, there's a former governor of Indiana who was also vice president, Mike Pence. He just gave an interview yesterday. He was asked about you in particular and about the fact that Donald Trump has suggested that you could work in his next administration should he win in 24. Vice President Pence said that the president was right to fire you when he did, even knowing now everything that we've learned. Could you respond to that, sir?
Yeah, absolutely. And Mike Pence, in his book, he, even after knowing what the transcripts between me and the Russian ambassador were, Mike Pence still said, he basically lied in his book. So, people can go look at that little piece of it in his book that he talked. He still said that, he stated incorrectly in his book. So Mike Pence, he needs to reflect. Mr. Christian Mike Pence needs to reflect on everything that has happened and transpired. And I will tell you, his day will come when the truth comes out, because there's even more that has yet to come out that I know occurred, and I am going to bring it out. So Mike Pence, who will never be the president of the United States, because the American people are sick and tired of his establishment bullshit. Excuse me, Larry. You can take that out if you want.
Fine. But, hey, you're an Army guy. We get how soldiers talk.
We're done with that, and so I'm sorry that Mike Pence feels that way. With everything that we knew then and everything that we know now, Mike Pence needs to just. What he should be is, he should be saying things like, "You know what? This is a shame what happened." You know that Mike Pence never called me up after I received the pardon from the president, and ever, not once, for all of your listeners, not once did Mike Pence, Mr. Christian, ever call me up and say, "Hey, Mike, I'm sorry, Mike Flynn, I'm sorry what you and your family went through." I've never heard from the man. So as far as I can throw him, I have no time for him.
General Mike Flynn, I appreciate you joining us, sir. He put out on Twitter after the Durham Report came out, he said, the American people are pissed, Trump's pissed, and I'm pissed. And, well, I think you saw a little bit of it right there. Don't be a stranger, General. Love to have you again. There's more to come on O'Connor Tonight.